All right, good morning. Let's get our other people up in here. All right, there we go. Welcome in, guys. It is 6:33 where I am, 7:33 where probably where most of you guys are, which means it's time for another episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, good friend, co-host, football mind, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how you doing today? Are you starting to get excited for the Senior Bowl? I'm starting to get pretty jealous.
I am actually was going through it yesterday, and seeing those quarterbacks there last year. Really, the only quarterback, and he didn't really have a name going in. I wrote about you froze up on me just a little bit.
Mm.
I wrote about Mac Jones coming out of the Senior Bowl. As you know what, this could be a guy that could sneak into the back half of the first round. As I was writing for the Falcons at the time, I was like, this is a trade down candidate. If you want to, instead of spending a 4 on Justin Fields, you could trade back and get Mac Fields at 25. And then all of a sudden it started coming around at 3. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I didn't mean that. That was a little bit much. But when we're talking about the quarterbacks that we like or don't like, well, they're all going to be there. It's going to be a fun Senior Bowl because people love the quarterbacks. They love the prima donnas.
Yeah, everybody's going to be there but Matt Corral.
Right.
That's the one guy who's not going to be there, and he's one that I think Pro Football Focus just had a mock draft where Matt Corral went to the Broncos at 11. So he's one to keep an eye on. Don't forget about Matt. I know he suffered the high ankle sprain. Not you, Scott, but just the people in general. And to keep, let me know about my internet. It says
No,
my
the fact
connection.
that there's at least one is I'm happy, because a lot of times the skill position players, and I'll keep going until I see Nick clear up just a little bit. The skill position players aren't necessarily the best players at the Senior Bowl, because the best skill position players are underclassmen. They come out in 3 years. Even quarterbacks, if they've redshirted, even 4-year quarterbacks are usually 4th-year juniors. You rarely get senior quarterbacks. But it was probably smart of these guys. In fact, we're almost positive now it's smart of these guys to not try and compete in that class last year, especially coming after an abbreviated 2020 season where it was all kind of wonky anyway, where they came back, got their extra years, and they're going to make themselves a lot of money for it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. For some reason, it says my connection is unstable. I'll probably do the read here, and then I'll close out and come right back in. But guys, obviously, you can follow us both on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you are on Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as /Mile High Huddle Pod. If you haven't done so yet, go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review. And also on YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, go create a YouTube account. Find our channel, Mile High Huddle. Subscribe, like, and share it here. Not only here, though, but also Scott's channel at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Okay, Scott, I will be right back. Would you look at the comments while I read this?
I'll hold down the fort. And Ethan coming in. He is across the pond over at 233 in London. Hope you enjoyed the Carabao Cup game yesterday before Chelsea and Spurs. I know I certainly did. Wicked royalty. That feels. I recognize the picture, but that feels like a newer name. You didn't change your name. I noticed Klee happened to change his name. Where Melvin Gordon had a really, really heartfelt interview, saying he proved he doesn't know football. Don't read too much into what people say publicly, dude. I think what he did, he basically said he was defending Pat Shurmur, and then out of this side of his mouth saying he was frustrated. Him and Javonte have been frustrated with the lack of carries they've been getting. So there's I'm not too worried about Melvin Gordon and his knowledge of football. I thought there was 3 clips that were cut up and put on Mile High Huddle, and I thought he was very heartfelt in all of them. Are y'all getting used to this picture? Instead of the dual screen, it seems like we've been doing this a little too often lately. Sunny Days, one of my favorite avatar names here. It's just a good name, Sunny Days. It's sunny out where I am, but cold, starting to burn off. It's in the 30s here in Georgia. That's chilly. That gets real chilly. I want to say good morning to Claude coming in on Facebook. Morning, fellas, with the double hearts. Go Broncos, and thank you for the stars, Claude. And Dave Glassman coming in saying, beat the Chiefs. Yeah, I think no matter what, even if, so many people that watch the show, we're like-minded a little bit, that, there's nothing to play for. A win is actually going to hurt you, but your heart takes over and you say, I want to win this game. I want to beat the Chiefs. I want to win at home. I'm sick of seeing their smug sons of so's out there, and I want to win. And yes, you do. And then after the fact, you'll console yourself by saying, all right, well, at least we're going to have a higher draft pick. Now, I can get into it with Nick just a little bit. But I have did Nick go and change his sweater? That's kind of funny. I don't know if Nick changed his sweater. It looks like he's got a backup though, because the last one was just the black and gold, and the script. It didn't have the logo. Now, I have looked through the playoff scenarios, the draft scenarios. I don't even know what the playoff scenarios are. Broncos and Falcons are in the 10s, not in the 20s. So I don't even know who is up for what in the playoffs. I'm slumming down here with our team. So what I do know is I actually predict the Broncos to come out of this with the number 10 pick. The Falcons at number 9, losing to the Saints. And the Broncos at number 10 losing to the Chiefs. Now, I like the Falcons' chances of beating the Saints a little bit better than I like the Broncos' chances of beating the Chiefs. So that could put the Broncos up another spot to 9. And then the game to watch on Sunday afternoon at the 1 o'clock game, the early game, would be the Vikings and Bears. If the Bears win that game and beat the Vikings, you could jump to the 9 spot. And then if the Falcons win, you could jump all the way to the 8 spot, I think is about as high as you can get.
Broncos can get all the way up to number 7.
Yeah, but the Seahawks aren't beating the Cardinals, but it's something to watch for sure.
Yeah, it's just this year has been so wonky that I got to see the outcome of the game to believe it. Not talking in absolutes, but also for the Broncos case, you probably want to be cheering for the teams behind them to win as well. So that way, in case the Broncos do end up winning that game, you don't really have any issues. The one that could be, I guess that Bears-Minnesota game, we'll already know the Broncos outcome. So if the Broncos win, you want the Vikings to win as well. If the Broncos lose, you want the Bears to lose. So obviously we'll get there when we get there. The other games that matter is Cleveland versus Baltimore. You want Cleveland to win, and Miami versus, I don't even know who Miami plays at the top of my head. But you want Miami Patriots? Well, you want Miami to win that one. Otherwise,
yeah,
Miami
we were going through that. The strength of schedules are real close. The first tiebreaker and all of those. That I think, ironically, looking at the Broncos and the Falcons. If the Broncos win, it actually lowers their strength of schedule, and the Dolphins would have to lose, which would strengthen their strength of schedule because it would count as like 2 wins for their opponents. So I think where they are now, I don't think Miami's strength of schedule is going to come in play because there's a 4-game swing right there that has to happen. In 4 games, well, it doesn't sound like a lot when you're talking about 16-game seasons and all of these teams, but think of it like a batting average. You get 600 at bats in a season. You go 2 for 3. You raise your average 6 points. So, when you're talking about thousands, those 4 wins that would be needed, I think it's going to take the Dolphins and their tiebreaker out of consideration. That's what I think. We will see. Miguel coming in and said, "Good morning, fellas. I think all these players have too much pride to take a fall." Appreciate the stars and always with the coffee. I like the coffee emoji coming in. I would play spoiler and give Kansas City a harder path to the Super Bowl. It's one thing. It's one thing to say, okay, this would be good for us. It's another thing, like I said, your heart's going to take over. When you're watching this game, you're going to be, and if the Broncos are doing well, you're going to want them to continue to do well. If they're doing poorly, you might get pissed off and just say, just get killed. I don't even care anymore. That might happen, but your emotions will take over in this game and not your logic. Afterwards, the logic will kick in and you will rationalize that a loss was actually good for us. We're in a good position for this. Where it actually affects you, though, Miguel, is in the preparation. It's in the preparation for the game. When you're in the gym putting on a little extra weight or doing an extra wind sprint, you don't do those things as much when your incentive and your motivation and your coach, that type of stuff, that little extra edge that you need at this level wanes a bit. And I think that's where it ends up hurting you the most.
Yeah, I mean, guys are thinking about what they're going to be doing for vacations, what's happening for the offseason for them, future contract stuff. So Yeah, I've heard that from a couple sources that, some players are, they're still preparing for the game, no doubt, but they're starting to think for the door, because that's the natural response, especially after I think what Melvin Gordon said. He talked about him being saying this team is a Super Bowl caliber roster. I think there was real belief in that Denver
Mhm.
locker room this season, with those guys and each other and their schemes and whatnot, and to have that belief and then end up back here, I think is really,
It's
uh,
demotivating.
it
It
is,
is.
yeah.
You're going to take a little bit off your preparation. There's a saying that says that I really really like. It's motivation gets you started, habit keeps you going. If you're ever in a workout routine or anything like that, or you've got a streak going of some kind, it's not the motivation, 'cause you're not going to be motivated every day. But if you build it into a habit, you're like, man, I've got a streak going. I don't want to break it. I'm going to get out there. This is who I am. This is what I do. When you're not playing for anything anymore, then it's the job. The
Mhm.
motivation and the carrot will get you going and it'll get you to do a little bit extra.
Yeah.
But when all that's gone, now it's a job. Now I'm
Yep.
going to do the work. I'm a professional, but I'm not putting forth that extra. I might be at 95% instead of 100, and 5% at this level, it can make a big difference. It really can.
Margins are thin. Margins are thin. Broncos first in the draft joining us today. $20 super. Thank you so
You
much.
recognize that name. He's
Yeah.
changed it several times as
Yep.
far as 17-0, 16-1. It has been a while. So I'm glad you haven't changed that nice sunrise or sunset, depending on which way you're facing over the water. And as always, coming back with coming in strong with the super. Appreciate the support.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Title of the show, we're talking about 3 Broncos starters being put on the IR, and I guess we'll just get that out of the way. The injured reserve list. So effectively ending 3 Broncos seasons, and for a couple of them, potentially their time in Denver. Teddy Bridgewater has been placed on IR with a concussion. That's good. I mean, it's not good that he has the concussion, but
Mhm.
like they probably should have done that immediately following the
Our
injury. They were holding out hope, but
our Monday show after that happened, we said that's what needs to happen.
yeah,
After the injury, after he goes head first and goes limp, gets scarred off, we're like, we said it. We can go back and look Monday and say, I don't want to see him again. I don't want to see him play. If you're Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, maybe you take that risk because
yeah,
I thought kind of the same thing going back to a World Series and Madison Bumgarner is out there and he's hurting and he's overextending himself and it's a World Series. And it's like, well, this is why you play the game. And if you can win a World Series and you end up ruining your shoulder and you put 50 million in the bank in a World Series ring and got a legend, okay, I
yeah,
get that. This isn't what this is. This is Teddy Bridgewater and a mediocre Broncos team. Dude, sit out. Protect yourself.
yeah.
And,
Yep.
and if he's doesn't want to, protect him from himself and put him
Yeah.
on IR.
No, I think that it was the right call. It's unfortunate that a season ends that way. It's unfortunate that the season went out the way it did, but Teddy Bridgewater on IR with a concussion. He's gonna get a okay contract after this somewhere, probably as somewhere as a bridge or a spot starter type. He enters the Andy Dalton, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor category of quarterbacks in my book. Maybe slightly better than those guys too, but still, I would say in that category. So we'll see what happens with him going forward. Another Bronco on IR, season effectively ending, is Dalton Risner. I guess we can do the Dalton Risner season in recap right now. I thought he started pretty slowly this season, picked it up a bit, especially when Quinn Miners came out there and was obviously better when Lloyd Cushenberry was out there. But Dalton Risner will enter his last year of his contract. He's going to have to play well, otherwise the Broncos need to be looking for a replacement.
Yeah, and again, having the depth there for sure. Reisner, for all accounts, is a good dude. But
Yeah,
I thought he struggled. I said the same thing about Glasgow when he was out there. I thought he was struggling. And again, how much of this is scheme based? I tend to think that when you're getting knocked back in the trenches, it's not necessarily scheme based. It makes it harder to run any scheme at that point. But having we talked about fine margins, having that little bit of uncertainty about your belief in this team and the system and your coaches can be enough to knock you back a yard instead of pushing a guy back forward the other
yeah,
yard. So before I'm willing to write guys off or whatnot, as long as I see them putting forth the effort and I know they got the tools, I'm on their side.
yeah.
So I'm very curious to see what these guys can do with a little bit of extra help. And speaking of extra help, Shane coming in with some stars. Appreciate you, Shane. He says, how soon do we think we hear about a coaching change coming, Sunday or Monday? I don't think my gut tells me it won't be Sunday. Just because it's still the season. It's still, I mean, I know the Broncos season will be done, but it's still the NFL season. It's a Sunday. You've waited this long. We're going to wait for Monday morning, give everybody the weekend, and then we're going to make our changes. I think it happens, by, noonish on Mountain Time on Monday morning. What do you think, Nick?
I'm not sure. It really depends on when they're going to have their end of season wrap up press conferences. Like if they're doing those all on Sunday, are they going to trot Vic Fangio out there to do those press conferences only to fire him the next day?
Seems like that would be post game though. I mean, I don't know. I guess I've never paid attention to that before, but
they typically do like a end of season wrap up kind of state of the union.
Even if the guy's getting canned?
Typically you see from like the owner or Joe Ellis or a GM. And I don't remember the Broncos playing on a Saturday before, so they would kind of line up better. So if the Broncos do their end of year press conferences kind of stuff, I could see them moving on from Vic Fangio before that because you're not going to trot him out there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was saying I was thinking their end of year might be on Monday and it might be wrapped in all that announcement. We've got some news. The season didn't go the way we wanted to. Had some things to be proud of. Really happy with this class. We've moved on from Vic. Wish him well. He did a lot of great things here. With him will be going McMahon and Shermer, and the whole bunch. And we wish them well. We enjoyed having them here. They're the ultimate professionals. Blah, 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 blah. I can write this thing for them.
Yeah.
But I think all that stuff happens Monday afternoon.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I don't think they should be back. I don't think a lot of the coaches should be back, personally. I think Vic Fangio still got a good defensive mind. I don't think he is a great manager of people. I don't think that the players really relate to him as much, and I think this team should probably go a different direction. Just kind of, flush it down. Vic Fangio is going to go off and be a great defensive coordinator somewhere. Then good for him. He's still a great defensive mind, but I think this team needs a new direction. This gosh darn ownership situation, I do think it's a variable just because it's an unknown, makes it that much cloudier of what could happen and who really has pull. But I think that's the direction they got to go. And after the Broncos likely get beat really badly on Saturday versus the Chiefs, I can't see it keep him.
Yeah, I don't either. There's too much. The Chiefs are a better team. 1, they've got the Broncos number. 2, they've got a lot more to play for. 3, and the Broncos don't want to play for this coach. When did I first say that? Week 5, week 6. They don't look like they want to go out and play for this guy. I haven't seen anything change my mind. That was 3 months ago. 3 months ago. So I think the skill and the talent level might keep it close. It might not be the 10, but a 10-point. If you're the Denver Broncos and you say, "Good morning, Chris. Appreciate you being here this morning, and thank you for the stars."
Ooh, we got a big
and glad your care package arrived, a fellow Braves fan. So, and even if you're not, the fact that you wanted to collect a Braves World Series paper is pretty cool to me. But and there I see red. I move on. So go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, Ethan coming in, $100, 100 smackaroos, Fire Fangio Fund, #FFF. Yeah, I mean that's where I'm at as well. It's not personal. It's just I think this team deserves a break to move on. You can get other defensive minds in here. You got to figure out the leadership position first and foremost, and they just don't seem to have that right now. So I think it's best for everybody to move on. And if they do keep Fangio, it feels like we're entering 2022 as a very much a lame duck season. So that's unfortunate. Probably that might be a reality anyway if the quarterback market doesn't break as you'd hope. Taking any of these rookie quarterbacks probably means 2022 is somewhat of a lame duck season, but I think it's time to move on. For clean break. God bless you, Fangio.
I know where I was saying before Ethan came in here and not blew my train of thought. And thank you very much. The Fire Fangio Fund.
Yeah.
Was just talking about, the Broncos being able to keep this close against the Chiefs. They're good enough. They're a good enough team to keep this close. And going back to, I constantly have thought about, we mentioned Varsity Blues a lot. I don't know if Greg Smith is in here. Aloha, Greg.
He
if
is.
You are.
He is.
But, that Kilmer just hates Moxon. Hates him. Hates a backup quarterback. Hates him. And then when he's forced to go in, he goes, "Now remember, son, I'm behind you." Like, oh, yeah, thanks, coach. Appreciate that. And how did they go out and win that last game? Moxon says, to hell with this. We're going to run it how we want to run it. I can just damn near picture Drew Lock doing that same thing. To hell with this. We're going 1 back and 4 wide. Let's go oop to oop out here, which was actually 5 wide receivers. But we're gonna have some fun with this. So, again, nothing to lose. I think that's what he was writing up on the board last week was Fangio. You really don't have anything to lose. Fangio's got FU money. I don't have to work again ever. My kids don't have to work again. Their kids don't ever have to work again. Let's go out and have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Travis Tarbuck coming in here saying, "Morning, fellas. I know I asked for a lot this offseason, but we have cap space." That's fine to ask for a lot. I think the Broncos would honestly be okay. Are there any positions outside of quarterback that you think the Broncos would be wise to make a big splash investment in? And I'll be honest with you guys, I have not looked at the market yet because the market changes so much before it actually opens, because you have a lot of guys like Charles Leno. Congratulations to him. Broncos tried to bring him in. He said, "I'm a left tackle. I'm going to get paid like a left tackle." He just did. Washington football team, I think, paid him 3 years, $36 million. But some guys are going to get snapped up before. Some guys will be released. But in general, is there a position where on this Broncos roster, outside of quarterback, where you could see them making a solid investment this offseason?
So let me look, because I want to see. My initial reaction on this is if you could get a fire-breathing guard, another interior lineman out there with just a nasty attitude. What does the top guards typically make? So let me look.
I don't think they'll pay a guard. While you're looking, I will just say that I think you could see them maybe
paid a guard, dude.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll pay another guard. I think you could see them.
Here it is. So Glasgow at number 4 in the NFL. Again, they've paid a guard. They're not going to. They're going to have that Glasgow money. The number 5 guy's $10 million. $10 million's chump change. When you're talking about if I could go, because a right tackle at that level is going to cost you double that. So I'd love to go into the draft and come out of there with a right tackle of the future. But if I could get a veteran, all-pro guard to come in here and really, truly lead this offensive line, even a center for that matter, the old Alex Mack move, but an interior lineman to come in here and just change the mentality of these guys and take Muti and Miners under their wings and just move forward. That'd be a lot of fun. I think you could make a pretty big impact for not a ton of money on your interior line. I really do.
Yeah, the name that comes to mind for me there, I'm not advocating to spend money on the interior, because unless you're changing to a wide zone scheme, then you're might have to change personnel a little bit. But I'd be fine next year with Risner, Cushenberry, Miners as your trio, and adding some depth there in the draft, because you're going to need somebody to potentially replace Risner after next season. But name comes up to me is Ryan Jensen, center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you are bringing in a rookie quarterback, that center, you don't want a young center with a young quarterback if you can help it. And that's one of the big things that I think was an issue for Drew Lock last season, was Lloyd Cushenberry a rookie with Drew Lock. So Ryan Jensen would be one that would interest me. I don't know if Tampa Bay is going to have the money to bring him back. Chris Godwin's a free agent. They're going to have to figure out some of the weapons. So Jensen makes sense to me. I'm looking for an investment on the defensive front. Personally, that's one that makes a lot of sense. If you can plug and play a starter there, Mike Purcell has been a below average player this season. I don't know if you look at the, there's a graphic that they put out there once a week from Seth Walder, I think his name Welder. He does a pass rush win rate versus double team rate. And the Broncos
saw it for edge. I did.
Yeah, for edge.
Who looked the worst on there in the entire NFL?
Malik Reed. Yep. Malik Reed
looked in there. We talk about Shelby Harris get some stick on this. And you know what? I'm willing to give Shelby Harris the benefit of the doubt, knowing who he's playing in between.
Yeah.
If Mike Purcell is a better player, if Malik Reed is a better player, then maybe we get more out of Shelby Harris. But right now, as an offensive coordinator, as an offensive lineman, I can target Shelby Harris, and I know I can man up the other two guys.
Yep.
If I can handle your interior line with one man each, I'm going to be pretty effective against you.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And unfortunately, Jonathan Cooper also has a lower pass rush win rate as well.
Rookie.
So he's a rookie, but I don't think.
I wanted him getting 15 snaps a game.
Yeah. But the perspective, I guess, is more so that I don't want to go into next season with Jonathan Cooper anything besides the first guy off the bench as an edge rusher, personally. So the defensive line is a position that makes a lot of sense for me if the Broncos are looking that direction. Other than that, though, right tackle makes a lot of sense too. If there's one available, I would not mind making that investment. Obviously,
There's 1 year left on Grady Jarrett's contract. Make an offer.
that isn't his money like impossible to move.
No,
No, okay,
it's not. He's only got 1 year left.
I guess it would depend on the scheme.
Yeah, you say scheme. You're not giving Grady Jarrett enough credit for how freaking good he is.
He is good. I just have Jarrell Casey bad taste in my mouth, where a player who is approaching the end of their career on that side of things, and I just don't want to give up too much. I mean, we gave up what I think a 6th-round pick for Jarrell Casey. If the Falcons want to shed cap and take a 6th-round pick for Grady Jarrett, okay,
There'd be a riot.
Yeah,
there'd be a riot.
Yeah,
he's very popular and he's very
rightfully
good.
So.
And you better get a return.
Yeah,
you better get a return. But if you could answer Shane's question, came in with some more stars to ask this question. Is the $22 million left over from this season getting rolled over to next year? Is it a 1-for-1 on the cap?
Yeah, when it rolls over, you can roll it over. All the money. So
and how much is it? It can't stack because I would think the NFLPA would have a problem with that since there's no floor.
There is a floor. There's a certain amount that you have to spend.
There is a floor, then then it might be able to stack. Okay.
I think it does stack, but there is a certain floor that you have to spend on your roster every year. I think it's like 85% or 90% or something of your total salary cap you have to spend. So it can roll over. I think teams that honestly like the Jaguars, who did not spend big this offseason, or last offseason, I think that makes sense. You don't want to spend until you're in your window, in my opinion, unless you're trying to evaluate a quarterback. And then I think you can spend around that quarterback to give them the best chance possible, so you have the best read as possible. Eliminate the excuses. Isolate the variable.
No, you want the free agency again. And what I like about Peyton and this Broncos team is, there's good players everywhere, but there's nobody for the most part that's irreplaceable. So when you mentioned, where could I go out and make a big splash? I could go number 2 corner. I could go number 2 safety. I could go anywhere at edge or linebacker. I could really go anywhere on the defense. If the right guy comes along for the right price, there's hardly anybody that's really untouchable. We flip it over to the offensive side. I don't need a receiver.
Yeah.
I'm okay there. I don't really need a tight end. I'm okay there. I don't need a running back. So what's that leave us? Well, quarterback. We've talked quarterback a zillion times. We always will. But on the offensive side of the ball, it's who's going to be the lead dog on the offensive line. Is it Garrett Bowles? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see it. And after that, you got rookie 2nd-year guy. I'm not sure. Muti, 2nd or 3rd-year guy. And then a 1-year guy at right tackle where you definitely need an upgrade. So on the offensive side of the ball, you can get a beast for under $10 million on the offensive line.
Hey, I think Brandon Scherf's finally going to be a free agent too. Maybe, I know you don't need a right guard. Maybe you move Ryan Miners to center, but I got to get.
And good morning, Michael. Appreciate the stars. Glad you're with us this morning.
Yeah. Good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for Breakfast. Go Broncos. Thank you so much, Michael. Let's say hello to some people. I know we got some more stars that are starting to build up here. We can keep going on the injured reserve discussion here. Missing anybody else?
There's lots of guys. We got lots of people in here. Dion Green, welcome. Mr. Boggins, welcome for coming in.
We can't let go of Malik Reed because he's going to turn
into Shaq Green, welcome. Good morning, coming in. There's lots of folks that are coming in. And to finish on Shane's question, because a $70 million next year for cap room with $22 million rolling over, you can make magic happen with that. Yeah, $10 million. Once you get past the top 5, $10 million will just about get you a top 10 guy at almost any position. I could plug in 5 guys that are top 10 position in the NFL. What? Assuming I don't get the quarterback. That quarterback may cost you 30 of that 70.
Yeah, if not.
So, and you're hoping it does.
Yeah.
You're hoping it does. I'll give up half. That was an old Eddie Murphy talking about, the divorce. Half. I'll give half of that $70 million for the right quarterback without a doubt. Now I go spend 35 and I can get 3 guys that are in the and this is before you do any cap shuffling with guys like Glasgow. Yeah. There's another 10 that's going to show up right there.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
I tell you, this is a time of season we like.
It totally
is. Who cares about playoffs? They're all rigged.
Yeah, that's predetermined, right? Somebody said that last Tuesday on our show. I'm getting excited. I'm starting to get excited for the draft. I went through and watched yesterday I went through and watched every single game of Sam Howell last season, besides North Carolina State. Couldn't find the cut up of that one, but going through the first viewing of a lot of those games, and there's some stuff there for Sam Howell that I like. He's the youngest quarterback in this draft class too, which I give him maybe a little bit of a bump there. He would have to play 2 more years in college to be where Kenny Pickett is at right now. So we'll see what happens with Sam Howell, who's going to be down there.
Stafford was like that too. Stafford was a young dude. He was a 3-year guy coming out, and he was really, really young. Really young like that, as opposed to, and that's something to watch, in the age of holdbacks, double holdbacks, 5th and 6th year guys, they're coming into the league at 25 years old.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's definitely something to consider. And that's something that really intrigues me with Trey Lance too. I don't know if you've got a chance to watch the 49ers, but I thought Trey Lance looked pretty good in that 49ers game. I've been watching a lot of 49ers football here recently because there's some talk about Mike McDaniel maybe moving on from San Francisco. He doesn't have play calling duties there. He's the offensive coordinator for San Francisco, and he is a Denver native. So keep an eye on Mike McDaniel, who has been in that San Francisco team, highly thought of for years and years, bringing up there. Look out for him. We got Wyatt coming in here saying, if the Broncos go cornerback in the first round, what happens with Ojemudia? Depth, slot. I thought he played well last season when he was thrown into the fire as a rookie. I don't think there's such a thing as having enough cornerbacks, and cornerbacks are a position where even if you have a slight injury, your play drops dramatically. That's why I think cornerback play in general is so variable year to year, even for the same cornerback, because it's so reliant on health. So Ojemudia in this situation, he becomes the Kayvon Webster to the no-fly zone. He's your 4th cornerback next season, but that's fine. Darby has essentially 1 year left on his deal. It's easy to get out of after that. And if you want to really build an identity, you want to have those guys. Maybe Ojemudia works on some slot roles, maybe some box work as well. I know they were working him in there as that kind of inside-outside piece behind Surtain last year when we were talking about Surtain being a big slot. That faded quickly after Darby got hurt and Fuller was not lived up to it. But I have no issue with it. Ojemudia should not keep anybody from going early at a position if a position of value like cornerback is the best player on the board.
Yeah, you can go through 4 in a hurry. How quickly do we think about having too many corners this year? And one doesn't play as well as you think. Kyle Fuller starts off a little slow. Bryce Callahan picks up an injury. Ojemudia picks up an injury. Now all of a sudden, okay, Darby. Well, starting the season, where are we going to play Patrick Surtain? That stuff works itself out pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Maybe the one place that hasn't happened is the question that I know always kind of got the hair on my neck to stand up was, why aren't we using Michael Boone? Like, you're not using the guys you've got, so, Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon weren't getting enough carries. Why would I take 5 of their 20 carries away to give to someone else? But with the cornerbacks, I can find 4 to put on the field pretty much 25 snaps a game. And one of those guys is getting hurt. It's the NFL. One of them's going to have a dip in form. It's the NFL. You need 6 of those guys. I can run 5 out there pretty easy in a dime package with a single safety.
Yep.
Corners. I've said it's turning into a 7-on-7 league, so you can't have too many defensive backs.
Yep, absolutely. It's such a valuable position. Also, because of the value of cornerbacks is much like offensive line, because the offense dictates the matchup and where the ball goes. So that means that if you have one who's great and can lock down one side of the field, that's awesome. But because the offense, especially good quarterback play, can pick the matchup, isolate the matchup, a lot of times you're only as good as the weakest guy. So if you have one guy who is a detriment out there, even surrounded by 4 all-pros, schematically you can do things to protect them, no doubt, because you have more talent elsewhere. But still, a good quarterback can find that matchup and pick on it and go back to the well continuously. So you want to have good depth at the cornerback position. Also, it gives you a chance to run coverages that other teams simply can't. No team last season played more man than the Kansas City Chiefs. I think at 60%. No other team was above 50% man coverage. If you have a Derek Stingley plus a Patrick Surtain, you are going to be able to man up on the outside, unlike other teams.
The other point of that, you start thinking, okay, there's one spot, there's only one ball. Okay. So if I've got a weakness in the cornerback position, I can find that guy. I can exploit that guy. Maybe I roll over safety, but that helps us someplace else. But the flip side of that is, how many guys go 4 deep at wide receiver, where their 4th guy is really a matchup problem, not a ton. So if I can take 2 lockdown guys like that, Stingley and Surtain, holy cow, do I start having options. I can start bringing pressure with, how come we're not getting more pressure on the quarterback? Well, you can't give up coverage because then the pressure doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
But if I can lock down their top 2 weapons with one guy each, and I've got 9 to play with, I'm going to be a pretty good defense.
Yep. Yeah, just draft the best guys. It's really that simple. Obviously,
Good morning, Gary.
Good morning.
Hope
Gary.
you're doing well. Hope the new year is treating well. Appreciate the stars this morning.
And Gary's got a new picture too over on Facebook. So shout out to the hashtag new profile pic. Looking good, Gary. Cornerback talking defensive line. How do we get here? This makes a lot of sense. We're talking this secondary because Kareem Jackson is the other guy who's been put on season-ending IR. We know that Vic Fangio said that Kareem has been one of his favorite players of all time that he's coached, and he has a long career. But Kareem, I think he's going to be 34 years old next year. Played solid this season, but you do have Caden Stearns waiting in the wings. Is this the last we see of Kareem Jackson in Denver?
Oh, probably. The way he plays the game, he's another one that I'm like, all right, dude, take your money and retire. I mean, 180 pounds, soaking wet, and he plays like Ronnie Lott. It's just, it doesn't surprise me. I don't know how he can last, and I don't know if he has, but I don't know how he can last an 18-week season, 17 games, playing at the level that he plays without ratcheting it back a bit. And that's not who he is. No. That's not who he is. Now, he's transformed himself from a corner to a safety at one point. But, yes, I think, let me see, where's his number right now? I don't think he's overly expensive, but he's not exactly
He's cheap. The Broncos cut him last year and then let him test the market and brought him back. It might have been for like $2.5 million. It was not a lot. The market was not great for him, and he's somewhat of a limited player because of his age and his decreasing mobility, I would say.
Yeah, and that tells you what. Oh, he's on reserve. I'm looking on the active. Kareem Jackson, his cap hit this year was 5.
5, okay.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty high.
Yeah.
And again, I think he is. We mentioned Josie Jewell, so it might sound a little bit like a hypocrite like this, where he said I'd bring Josie Jewell back. 1, he's younger. 2, he was playing, I think, at a better level. And 3, you can only have so many of those guys where you can have mentors back there on a 53-man roster. If I'm bringing a guy back for his veteran leadership right now on the defense, that slot for me goes to the linebacker. It goes to Josie Jewell. I like what Kareem Jackson brings to this team. I like his leadership. I like his fire. We talk about all the time on this pod. I hear these guys never come out and play with any passion. By God, Kareem Jackson does.
Yeah.
He's the one that I see every single game out there that seems to be giving forth everything he's gotten. It's probably cost him some of his health. I like that. But Father Time comes for us all. And I think it might be his time.
Yeah. And if they bring him back again, it'll probably be for $4 million 1 year. But with Vic Fangio likely on his way out the door, I will say likely, because again, I'm just talking that out there. We'll see what happens there.
But we're talking about the matchup problems with receivers. How many guys can go 4 deep at receiver? The Chiefs have that many weapons, probably right in that neighborhood.
Honestly, the Chiefs, listening to them in general,
don't.
Yeah. The Chiefs honestly need some depth at the playmaking position because they lost Demarcus Robinson's going to be gone soon. Mecole Hardman hasn't worked out for them. They lost Sammy Watkins. So that's a team that actually could use some depth and at the playmaking positions. But you definitely need it.
That can extend a play and do things like that and make average receivers look very, very good. That's where you need to make sure. How do I play the Chiefs better? I improve the edge. Yeah. I gotta get better than Malik Reed and Jonathan Cooper off the edge. I gotta get better than the Mike Purcell in the middle to help out the edge. I gotta get better up front. That's how I'm gonna slow down. I don't want to try and get in a coverage war against Patrick Mahomes because he'll keep a play alive long enough that anybody can get open. You give me 10 seconds against an NFL defensive back, I could probably get open. Across a 50-yard wide field, enough that Patrick Mahomes can find me. You defend Patrick Mahomes by getting after Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. No, it's a concern. Broncos need more talent on the edge position, but they also didn't afford themselves defensively the best opportunities on 3rd and long because they were so poor on 1st and 2nd down against the run this season. So when you're constantly 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 3 versus the 3rd and 8 the Broncos pretty much constantly had, it's harder for your pass rushers to get home. So there's many ways the Broncos can improve their pass rush next season, multiple avenues that obviously George Payton's going to have to explore. We got DWI guys coming in saying the Chiefs have number 1 playmaker. I'd probably take Devontae Adams right now as the number 1 playmaker.
That's not what he means.
Oh, he means Mahomes.
I think he means Mahomes.
Yeah. Probably. Maybe Aaron Rodgers too.
Well,
Or
Aaron,
Mahomes.
I think he just means that, he's kind of backing up the same point I was making, was that Mahomes makes average receivers can elevate those guys by extending a play and making throws that most guys just can't. Could be talking to Tyreek Hill. But and I'm sure he'll clarify on this.
The number one playmaker is Cordell Patterson, isn't it?
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. I still take the quarterback though. Oh, yeah. And Cordell Patterson's on $3 million a year, and he's a free agent this year. Again, I've said if I was the Broncos and I'm sitting there with $70 million, I'd call up his agent and offer him 2 years, 10 with 8 guaranteed. Yeah, and see what he says. You get Cordell Patterson 10 touches a game in a Broncos offense that spreads the field a little bit. Again, everything I look at with Shermer, everything is so tight. You run 4 wide receivers and everybody's inside the numbers. I'm like, why are you? One more game. One more game. But Travis coming in with some stars. Appreciate you, Travis. Says, Chad and Zach keep bringing up Nathaniel Hackett for our next head coach. Offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. I've said this before, that I get nervous when I see young guys or even old guys making their names with freak show quarterbacks. I watched Charlie Weiss become an arrogant ass after coaching Tom Brady and then flopping at everything else he ever did. Josh McDaniels has pretty much been the same guy. Nathaniel Hackett gives me a little pause. I don't know anything about his personality, but when you've got Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, you should be a pretty good offensive coordinator. He gives you options that you just don't have anywhere else. I think part of the appeal there is, if you get Hackett, can you get Rodgers? If they're a package deal, and I think that's part of the big appeal. If Nathaniel Hackett is over at, let's say, the Baltimore Ravens right now, is he the same guy? Or who's a middle quarterback? If he's the Tennessee Titans right now, maybe, are you still talking about him as much? Or is part of the appeal the fact that we're talking about Aaron Rodgers? I think that's a big part of it.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely the Aaron Rodgers connection. I will say, though, I am very impressed with the LaFleur offense there in in Green Bay. They have the fact that they're able to move the ball like they do with, I think they're down 4 of their top 5 offensive linemen. Outside of Devontae Adams, I'm not really impressed with the pass catchers. I think it's obviously Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, incredible, and they make that all look good, but I'm pretty impressed with the scheme as well. And the fact that they're able to get buy-in from a quarterback who might have some issues buying in sometimes if he's not fully involved in the process, is a testament to Hackett as well. So I think he is a viable candidate regardless of the connection to Aaron Rodgers, because of that offense and what they can do there. And maybe with that, I brought him up earlier, maybe you bring in Hackett and his offensive coordinator. You're tying that Kyle Shanahan system in there with Mike McDaniel being the offensive coordinator, some connection there. So we'll see. Shane Daniels saying, young guys making a name with freak show quarterbacks. Adam Gase, anyone. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
Joe Brady. Joe Brady at LSU. The guys claim to fame before Joe Brady, Jamar Chase, and who else? Justin Jefferson was getting coffee for Sean Payton in New Orleans. That was his big claim to fame. So I'm a little wary about that. Nick makes some great points about Hackett though, and why he could be different. But again, my initial thought on a guy like that is, I need to do more. I'm not going to just look at the numbers.
Yeah. And the other guy here is a quarterback getting elevated by freak show quarterbacks. Is it too early to come for Dabo Swinney? I'm just asking questions. Nobody get mad at me. Man, that was a rough Clemson team this year. They lost a lot of structure. I'm curious to see if Clemson's sun is starting to set a little bit there. But who knows?
Who's stepping up though? I mean, in the
Florida,
ACC,
I really think Billy Napier is going to get that Florida program in.
I was going to say, but that's ACC, SEC. I mean, can the Hurricanes come back? Or the Seminoles, or is it just going to be?
Does anybody in the ACC
SEC and everybody else?
Ohio State?
Yeah, I mean, really,
Ohio State.
I'm not ready to pull the plug on Clemson just yet. I think they'll be just fine. I think Dabo's a good coach. I just wonder. You wouldn't begrudge him leaving for Alabama when Nick Saban eventually. Of course, Nick Saban's a vampire, so he might not ever leave. He could be there as the Lord of Darkness for another 50 years.
Yeah, I'm sounding the bell. Oklahoma and Clemson. A little bit concerned there. Teams that might step up for them. USC and I guess further Ohio State. Ohio State's so good. But yeah, let's keep on it. I like this question from Chevy coming in here saying the Broncos need to draft a stud defensive tackle. We continually get beat in the trenches. Chevy, I like your comment here. I like where your head is at. Defensive tackle is my favorite position to evaluate. But I will say, getting beat in the trenches for the Broncos, it's not just the defensive tackles. That was an issue, but the Broncos are so weak in the edge position right now. Bradley Chubb was not himself this season. Malik Reed is one of the worst edge setters in the NFL in run defense. Jonathan Cooper's not a good edge setter either in that position. And then the off-ball linebackers. I mean, how much they were shuffling those guys. I really love the athleticism and the size profiles of Jonas Griffith and Baron Browning, but those two guys are pretty weak in the tackle box right now coming downhill, which hurts your run game. They're not the best at filling to the gap or stacking and shedding blockers, which is one thing that scares me with Nakobe Dean in this potential defense. So defensive tackle, definitely up there, but the run defense, it's all of the front seven that needs to look in the mirror.
And I like Griffith's long-term upside as he learns how to play.
Yep.
And we talk about wrestlers and stuff. You know, let's send him to MMA camp for the offseason and send him some jiu-jitsu and wrestling and teach him how to grapple, because we're talking about, Nakobe Dean worries me because he's 225 pounds. Deion Jones, Atlanta Falcons, worries me because he's 205 pounds. Everybody drink.
Yeah.
Griffith's 245, 250 pounds,
Yep.
6'4". He's a beast.
He's big.
As long as he's not soft, which is possible. I know it sounds crazy. As long as he's not soft, he'll get better. He'll get a lot better. He's what they say. I heard on the broadcast, he didn't start playing until his senior year in high school. He's a baby. He's a baby out there. So I love the upside there. I absolutely do. And when you said Chevy, you liked his comment. This was the one I was going to pull up. So we both clicked on Chevy at the same time. So welcome, Chevy. I don't recognize the name. So welcome to the show. He says the biggest disappointment on the season was the offensive coordinator. I think they go after Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, Michigan Wolverines for head coach. I don't want Rodgers. Sick of this. Let's get a vet and roll with it. Rodgers has 2 years max. Let Drew play. First one on this, biggest disappointment on the season was the offensive coordinator. What were your expectations? So when I talk about, disappointment, how far off the expectations was Shermer? You didn't think he was going to be worth a darn to begin with? You weren't that disappointed with what you saw. Jim Harbaugh just took the Wolverines to their first college playoff, first Final Four berth, and just saw Brian Kelly get a 10-year, $100 million guaranteed contract from LSU. Not only did he see it, more importantly, his agent saw it. His agent is floating names out there to try and get him a new deal at Michigan. I think that's where he ends up. I don't think he's headed back to the NFL. I think you will read that he gets a nice contract extension and a big pay raise. He was already making a ton at Michigan. I'm sick of the vets, and I'm going to hand it back over to you, Nick. Yeah, but you've never had a vet like Aaron Rodgers. This is a different deal. Yeah. 2 years max. Yeah, but 2 years of Aaron Rodgers? Come on, man.
Yeah. You take that shot. If you can get Aaron Rodgers, you take the shot. I know that he was recently in an interview about Green Bay saying the grass is always greener where you water it. So I think the Aaron Rodgers stuff might be more of a pipe dream. As more time goes on, I think he's going to return to Green Bay. But we'll see what happens there.
He said green.
Yeah, he said green.
He said green right there. It's a giveaway.
You look like a...
Freud says there are no accidents.
Did you ever watch It's Always Sunny?
I didn't.
Okay. There's a scene with Charlie in the mailroom where it's a conspiracy meme. You've probably seen the picture before, but that's what you kind of looked like there when he said green, like circling it big times, like big red marker. Yeah, but last guy getting out of here, Kareem Jackson are going to replace him. Where do you think the Broncos go internally? Do they have replacements for him? Are you looking for anybody? Is this Caden Stern's audition today?
I think you got your 1 and 2. Caden Stearns can step up and play that role just fine. So I think you got your starters. Now you're looking for depth and competition. So going into it, I don't think it's a big need. What was Caden fifth round, 4th round? At the earliest,
5th round.
What a pick!
Yeah,
a pick! Good gracious, what a pick!
Looks better than Richie Grant. Unfortunately, Scott.
There were probably 25. I've said Falcons enough today. Someone said I had too much coffee. I'm actually cutting back a little bit. I've gone from pouring 24 ounces to like 20 ounces. So trying to knock it back just a little bit.
It's just pure espresso now.
So
the volume's changed.
But what a pick. I mean, how many safeties went ahead of him and how many in a redraft would end up going ahead of him? Let me see. Ruben coming in here a little bit, and we'll make this quick. Fangio showing his bias against Drew. Turn it over and start Teddy if he was good to go. To me, that makes no sense. We still don't know what lock is, but Teddy we do. Why not just say lock was going to start? And this was before Teddy was on the IR. We know who he prefers a quarterback. That's everybody's biased. That's what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
His preference at quarterback is Teddy Bridgewater. That's who he picked as a starter. That's who he was rolling with as a starter. You don't lose your job because of injury. Assuming you can bring it back. That's kind of an age-old adage. So that he would back Teddy Bridgewater to play again that's not a surprise. That's not a surprise.
Yeah, the Teddy Bridgewater stuff, he would make that decision every time. And you can say that he is biased against Drew Lock. I think he is somewhat biased against Drew Lock because Vic Fangio views Drew Lock as a detriment to his chances to winning or retaining his job. Not totally as the starting quarterback. You want Drew Lock out there as a viable option when things go sideways because he can run your offense and give you a chance. He's one of the top 45 quarterbacks in football any given game right now, which is good when you consider there's 64 who are either starters or backups. So you want Drew Lock in that way, but I do think that Vic bet on himself, bet on his defense, and said, like, if I can just get average offense ball control from Teddy Bridgewater, I can do enough on defense to win football games and make the playoffs. Did he bet wrong with the gift of hindsight? Yes, he did. I think if that's the mindset, he did bet wrong in that sense. But I think that he was going to go down swinging with the defense, and what we saw last year was a quarterback who was a detriment to the defense, without a doubt, with the turnovers that he did and putting them in bad situations, versus what we're seeing this year. So maybe we would have seen Drew Lock be better this year, take steps forward. We don't know. I'm not going to argue the counterfactual, but they made the decision.
And Ruben, appreciate the stars. And I want to hit one more point because this is a comment I hear a lot on this channel on the pod. It says we still don't know what Drew is. We would have known for sure what Drew was. We would have known. They don't have any obligation to show us. These guys are, and I hate the phrase trust the coaches. I hate it. So, but if they feel they know, we already know. If I'm sitting there and going, okay, if you're asking me, and I'm coach, I'm Fangio, I'm Shermer, I'm Peyton. So, well, we don't know what we've gotten here. And I'm sitting there and I'm them. I'm going, yes, we do. We've had him for 3 years. We know exactly what we've got here, and we don't think he's good enough. That doesn't mean they're right, but they don't have to prove it to us. So I keep hearing that narrative of we don't know what we've got with Drew Lock. That might not be true at all.
Yeah, 3 starts over 3 separate seasons. Probably know what you're getting there with him. Can he still improve? Yes, but this is another thing that I want to point out, just talking about these what's the word? Illogical thought processes. Some people think about these young players with a linear growth curve. Just every single year they take a step forward. Boom, 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 taking a step forward, taking a step forward. That's just not the case. For the year, we talk about variance game to game. It's true year to year. I mean, if Patrick Mahomes was going to continue taking a linear growth perspective from his second season where he won the MVP to the year after that to the year after that, we're talking about breaking all-time trend records. I mean, it's not even close. He already is doing that, but he's actually taken statistical steps backwards these last couple seasons. He's still elite, but he's kind of stepped backwards some. Josh Allen last year, MVP conversation, been good this year, taking a statistical step backwards. Baker Mayfield, talk about a guy whose linear growth is not there at all. So the thought process that year after year, your quarterback is going to get that much better with reps is just, that's not how it works. People looking for reason or like it makes sense logically that the more reps you get, the better you're going to be, but doesn't tend to work out that way in the real world.
So real quick on this, because Mike I had a couple of points on this. Shane coming in says, Mike Shannon always said you evaluate a QB in his third year. Drew Lock never got his third year. My main point on that one on Mike Shanahan, I was 30 years ago. Mike Shanahan was 3 decades ago.
Game's changed.
I mean, it is the proliferation of the 7-on-7s, the year-round football. It's different now. And 2, not every quarterback gets 3 years because they didn't earn the third year. So listen, I think Drew Lock is fine. I've advocated for keeping him next year for sure, letting him compete for the starting position. Absolutely. What I've said before is I don't like revisionist history. Drew Lock hasn't shown anything to this point that he would be a plus starter in this league. And if he hasn't gotten his chance, well, has he earned his chance? You don't owe him anything.
Nope.
We owe him that chance. We took him in the second round. So what?
He's gotten more of a
It's up
chance.
to them. And frankly, I have been very pleased with what I've seen out of Drew Lock this year. So
Yeah. Well,
again, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I just want to bring some balance to a very polarizing subject that it isn't one way or the other. If he had played, he wouldn't be an all-pro. That's not a fact.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that he played before, he didn't show that he was an all-pro in the past, and then he just got benched. He was in the 30s last year.
Yep.
So anyway.
Yep. And he had a chance this offseason. I know there's some eye rolling out there. But if Teddy Bridgewater is as milquetoast, as a lot of people say, Drew Lock had a chance in the competition to leave no doubt. And there was doubt. And that means, especially if you're judging him against Teddy Bridgewater and what he's been this season, probably not enough.
And typically you've got to knock out the incumbent, which means that, again, the bias, they'd already had their minds made up about Drew Lock. Yep. The competition was close based on what we saw. Competition was very close. Now, again, what we don't see is pre-snap reads, adjustments at the line of scrimmage, that type of thing. But as far as the actual play, it was close. And normally the younger incumbent will keep his job. Yeah. So we say, well, we would have known what we got. The people in charge of the Denver Broncos feel like they already know, and they don't have to prove it to us.
Yeah. Yep. He's a fine quarterback, and I think he's done as well as anybody could have hoped these last 2 weeks, given the circumstances. And I like Drew the person, so hopefully he goes well and plays a good game against the Chiefs and can be healthy. I feel bad for him with that shoulder injury. God, put him right back out there to run that Philly special after he gets his shoulder hurt. It's just, come on, Shermer, what are we doing? The DWI guys, I know what we're doing in here, supporting the heck out of us. Another big time contribution for the show. As he says, another contribution to the Fire Fangio Fund. On that note, does Peyton have full authority to hire a new head coach, or does Elway and Ellis still have a say? It does sound like Ellis is going to have a say if they do fire the coach, which is unfortunate, but he's still the acting president of the team in a sense, with in charge of the trust. So Ellis will still have a say. I think Elway will still have some of a say as well, but Elway's moving in the back scenes more so than Ellis is until the ownership situation changes.
Ethan, can't say enough. You've made this, help make this show what it is. I mean, for sure. It's become a very popular, this is, we've got almost 200 people watching right now. We used to start with 30 or 40, and it's growing and growing, and you help make this show viable. Cannot thank you enough. Trevor, appreciate you coming in with a comment. I heard from Kliss that Locke is probably going to be used in a trade. I'm not sure if you throw him in, you're not going to package him with to the Packers. They wouldn't want him. Seahawks might. The Seahawks might. They're a rebuilding team that could use a young quarterback like that. The Falcons would. I wouldn't mind seeing Drew Lock throwing the ball around to the Falcons right now. He'd get absolutely killed.
He loses his mind under pressure. So
he'd get killed. Matt Ryan holds onto the ball a little bit too long, but still knows how to get in and out of reads and do all the things to try and protect himself. It's amazing how healthy he's been in 15 years. I think he's missed one game in 15 seasons. It's insane for a guy that's a pocket guy. But if you're going to do that, you're going to have to go to somebody that's rebuilding. Look at those bottom 10 teams and what they might want to give up. And Chevy coming back in saying, okay, before y'all go, if you can't get Rodgers or Wilson, what do we do? Roll with Teddy again? No thanks. I go for the next best free agent free agent trade. I'm calling everybody that I can get. I'm calling Kirk Cousins. I'm calling Matt Ryan. I'm calling all these guys. I'm going to work my way down the board of quarterbacks who might even have a chance of being available on my ranking list, because I've got draft capital and I got money to make it very interesting. And I'm going to get the best veteran quarterback I can, and I'm going to draft a guy, and then I'm going to bring those three into camp. I'll keep Drew Lock. Yeah. Like I said, the worst case scenario right now should be that Drew Lock is your starter next year. That's not that bad. If that's as bad as it gets, you've got a building block and a starting place where you can then move forward and try and move this team forward. You'd like to have a little bit more assurance than that. I'd like to know I've got something rather than we think we might have something. He could be this, he should be this, he might be that. I'd rather be a little more sure about it. But if Drew Lock is as bad as it gets, and right now he's the only guy under contract and he could be the starter next year, it shouldn't be any worse. So if that's as bad as it gets, you should be all right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not making the playoffs.
It's not going to be Teddy.
Yeah, I would be shocked if it was Teddy. I think that unfortunately, I think that he's ready to move on from Denver as well, because I don't think that he has had the best time with some of the fan interaction going on there with Teddy. He's a good guy, but he had to delete his social media because he couldn't handle it anymore because there was pretty toxic. So that's rough. You said that the worst case is Drew Lock starting. I think that I need to know what else happened to the quarterback position around it. Because if the Broncos traded up into like the top 5 and took Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett is like throwing pick after pick after pick in practice, and be like, okay, I guess we have to play Drew Lock, then I'm upset. I'm very upset then, because that means that you not only gave up extra capital to go up and get a quarterback in a class that I'm not that fond of, but they were so bad.
Worst case is you blow a high pick and Drew Lock is your starter.
Yes,
but that's a risk with every position, every draft that you miss on that guy. That's always a risk. So I wasn't counting that one.
But it's the trade up situation.
Royalty with the good comments. Is it me or some Bronco fans more excited for the offseason than the regular season? That gives a very clear indication of what you think about the direction that the Broncos have been under Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
Meh. At best, meh. Anger's turning to apathy quickly, and if they don't make a change, anger will turn to apathy, and you'll lose half of Broncos country for 2022.
On the other side of things, that's
worst case.
I agree with you. That is worst case. I think it's going to be pretty ugly in the stands this week. I will say on the other side of the coin of this one, it's optimism. Broncos have a chance to go out there and get a quarterback this season because they have extra draft capital, because they have extra cap space. And I also think it's some belief and rejuvenation with the general manager. I mean, we just saw what he did in that 2021 draft class. Now we have 5 top 100 picks. What's he going to do this year? I can't wait and see. You have to get the quarterback position right eventually, but you got to trust, you got to be excited about what Peyton's doing as far as the building block and the talent evaluation side of things, not only on the draft side. I guess it's the back end trades in the building the roster as well. I mean, Jonas Griffith, what a get. Stephen Weatherly, what a get. Some of these guys on that side have been pretty darn good. So we'll see. I want to get to this one from Clee here real quick. Clee to the T, changed his name there. Zaven Collins has 22 tackles this season. Trade Judy for him straight up, LOL. No, first off, no. But this is one where I just want to kind of give some of my thought process in general on where I'm at as an evaluator and kind of doing the money ball side of things with positions of value. Micah Parsons, he gets after the quarterback. He gets after the passer. He's rushing 300 pass snaps a year. When he was coming out, I said, maybe Micah Parsons would be the best edge rusher in this upcoming class. And I'm loving how Dallas is using him because they're not using him on the edge in those obvious rundowns. So you don't have to worry about the length as much for him. And then they reduce him down to the line of scrimmage to pass rush. So it was Micah Parsons, he's a hit for the linebacker draft. However, you have somebody like Zaven Collins and Jamin Davis for a Washington football team who have been bad this season. Jamin Davis has actually been replaced. He's on the bench for the rest of the season because he got, I think he got injured, and then the linebacker who took his place took over and was better than him. So this is always the double-sided coin when you draft positions of non-elite value in the first round, because if you get an average linebacker with your first round pick, it's not the end of the world, but you can find an average linebacker day 2, day 3 in the draft. It's harder to find even an average offensive tackle, an average edge rusher, an average cornerback. So that's why position of value is baked into draft rankings and why I see a lot of these positions go earlier.
And which is why we're also a little more excited about what you got with Jonathan Cooper. That's like a freebie.
Yeah.
Getting a guy who can contribute in the 6th round at edge, that's bonus. That you just doubled down and hit on that one. That's great. And then being able to get serviceable players like Caden Stearns in the 5th at safety. Awesome.
Yep.
That's great. But again, going back to the comment about people being more excited, that's the hope factor. Yeah. One, the NFL bakes that in anyway by forced parity, by rewarding losers instead of rewarding ambition. They actually punish ambition and reward losing, which is just un-American. And the other part of that is it's the hope factor. The draft, the free agency. I've said it for 20-something years that I've been doing this. That's what we love. That's what gets us going. It's the hope. It's who's going to get us out of this mess. There's a whole bunch of hope coming this way. And when you've got the resources to take advantage of that, like the Denver Broncos do, it should be an exciting offseason. Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We should be excited. There's a lot that we can talk about. See, the linebacker discourse is starting to take off there, but we got to get on out of here. We're already at over an hour. And sun is not
Flew
up yet
by
here.
today.
I know
Flew.
it did fly by today. It's fun to talk about. Again, want to shout out to Teddy Bridgewater, Dalton Risner, and Kareem Jackson, whose season has ended at the for the Denver Broncos, potentially career ending for Kareem Jackson, maybe because just his age, I could see him walk off, and probably the end of the line for Teddy Bridgewater in Denver. What a forgettable season overall, but a season that hopefully can propel this team going forward with a lot of young players and draft capital and assets going forward. This team, while the quarterback play was not what they wanted this season, the trenches were not what we wanted this season. I definitely think they have the building blocks for guys to be excited about. And Scott, did you see that thing I tweeted out yesterday? It's from Brian Knowles, who tweeted that he did a graphic of what every team's record would be if their one possession games were flipped. Does that make sense? So like a lot of times in the NFL, the one possession games, you can either blame them on coaching or
I
you
didn't
can,
see it,
there's
but
a
I know
lot
the
of
Falcons
noise.
are 7-2 and have 7 wins.
Yes.
So they'd be 2-14.
2-14. The Falcons with the worst record in football if you flip all those one-score games. That's one reason I think DVOA is so low on the Falcons comparatively because
they got worse in every single metric this year except wins,
yep.
which is the one that matters.
Yeah, but predictive wise, I would assume you would see a step back from the Falcons. Like if you replayed this season, you probably see them lose more games just because those one-score games a lot of times are static noise side to side. The Broncos this year, one-score games, you can blame this on coaching, you can blame this on the quarterback somewhat, or you can just blame it on bad luck because sometimes those one-score games, there's a little bit of luck factor in that. Broncos, if you flipped all the one-score games, they'd have the numbers 5 seed in football right now and be 10-6. So when you talk about people rolling their eyes with Melvin Gordon saying this is a Super Bowl caliber team, the one-score games, which you typically know, again, coin flips, could go the other way.
You asked me before, you switch quarterbacks on this team. If Matt Ryan is in Denver, what's the record? And that was when it was 12 games in, and I was like, 9-3. This team is considerably better because they're playing some close games and they're losing all of them. He would be the difference in this team and help out the defense. The defense would be better with better quarterback because your offense would be more complementary. And Shane, real quick, if they do roll with Locke next year and he does well, do you franchise him for the following year to get another look at him or re-sign him long term? If he ends up being that type of guy, you try and get him an extension because if I'm not mistaken, a franchise tag is the average of the top 5 salaries on a 1-year deal. So top 5 salaries in 2021, Patrick Mahomes, $45 million, Josh Allen, $43 million, Dak Prescott, $40 million, Deshaun Watson, $39 million, and Russell Wilson, $35 million. Are you going to put a 1-year tag on Drew Lock for $40 million? No, you are not. No, you could get him 3 for $12. So no, you wouldn't use a franchise tag. You would hold that franchise tag hoping that Bradley Chubb has a 20-sack year next year.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to franchise him.
Yep. The other one to watch out for that franchise tag is Draymond Jones. Then you can probably save some money too because the interior defensive linemen are not paid like the edge rushers. So maybe you work out something for Chubb and then tag Jones. Colin, this one made me. DWI guys first. Nick the Moneyball, Paul D Podesta. Love it. It's I'm all about methodology, right? You want to have a good process. So that way your results, even if they're not great, end up being better more times than not to give yourself an edge. And I think that the Moneyball side of things, obviously it comes down to the individual talent. It always does. But if you want to bake yourself in, give yourself a little bit of chance, you want to look for those edges.
And I want as much info as I can get. I want to know the numbers and I want to see what my eyes tell me. And I want to try and back them up. If, this guy's got bad numbers, why? This guy's got great numbers, why? Show me the data, but then also show me the game. I don't think, again, polarizing. There's a balance to be had there. You take as much information as you can possibly get. And guess what? You're still going to miss.
That's
human
the other
beings
thing.
Here.
Overconfidence in the evaluation, I think, is another thing, which is why you want to lean back into the averages. This one made me laugh. Colin, shout out to Colin Wood. If Locke won the Super Bowl, Nick would say anybody can win just one. He needs to do it again. I need to see what that Super Bowl looks like. If he won it like the Peyton Manning in 2015, I might say not so fast, my friends, because that was
I would have cut Trent Dilfer the day after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I need to see what it looks like. But I would be very happy for Locke and the Broncos if that happened. But I'm hoping that Locke plays well in this last game, and whatever happens to him, I'm wishing him the best. I'm ready in general for a clean break from this quarterback room and direction forward. But we'll see what happens. And God, Scott, I know you got to get out of here real quick. Like I said yesterday, I watched all the Sam Howell tape that was available to me, probably like 2.5 hours, 3 hours. I didn't have the all 22 for every single one of the games.
When do you
But
find the time?
my wife is working on writing a grant application. So I came home and I was told to be quiet and be elsewhere. And that means it's time to watch football. I watched a lot of Sam Howell. Sam Howell, some thoughts on him. I think he's a solid athlete. I'm very concerned about how they used him in the run game because it was a lot of quarterback power and quarterback draws. And I know they did a lot of rushing yards this year, but it's not a translatable statistical ability for him in the NFL. But he is thick. He is strong, and I really like his toughness. He's one who's going to lower the shoulder and get yards.
I watched one game on him. I don't even remember who it was against.
It was probably the Pitt game. Kenny Pickett.
It might have been. I don't even remember who it was against. I just remember thinking, I like the way this guy throws the ball.
Yep.
I want to see more. Again, you whet my appetite. Now I want to see more. Now it's time to see more. Now's the time. Over the course of the next, you put him on your list. Yep, he made the list. I didn't cross him off. He made the list. I want to see more, but I liked what I saw. I'm like, I think we might be selling this guy a little short.
Yeah.
When we're talking about there aren't any guys in this class. So I liked what I saw in my initial the gut reaction.
Yeah. Some more with Sam Howell. Going to be the youngest player. He's only 21 years old, youngest player in this class for the quarterback position that I've come across yet. I really like his ability to navigate the pocket in short spaces and give himself find space and buy space in a window where he can make throws in when it's dirty around him. He does not panic. He does not duck his eyes in that sense, which is a really big skill. The ability to play and have just a calmness in the pocket is huge. You don't see that with every single quarterback. Sometimes not to bury Drew Lock, but like when pressure came around Drew Lock, you could see the panic. His mechanics would get wonky and things would kind of go haywire for him. Yeah, I think he's been a little bit better with that this season. So good for him.
The feet get a little nervous.
Yes, they do.
They do. And I said, if you're Peyton Manning, that's okay. But Peyton always had the happy feet.
Yeah.
He always looked nervous back there, but he wasn't. That was just who he was.
Yep. For Howell though, I feel like his down the field accuracy maybe leaves some work. Now, some of this is because Phil Luongo's offensive scheme is absolutely garbage. I hate what he does. I hated him at Ole Miss, and I don't like him at North Carolina. But I guess shout out to Sam Howell for a lot of those deep throws. They are meant to be, put it in a place where only your receiver can get it and no defender can get it. So there's a lot of those kind of throws, which how translatable is that to the NFL? I don't know. I talk about Howell being very good with pressure coming. There's a caveat though. He is absolutely terrible at pre-snap reads for pressure. If there's any sort of blitz packages or anything like that that's coming, he is going to treat it like it's a 3-man rush or a 4-man rush every time.
See, that's what I loved about Mac Jones. The part that you can't measure is when I saw him with pressure in his face, he was really, really good at Alabama. Really good. So that was one of the things I really liked. And you've got accuracy and calmness with a rush in your face. You got a chance to be a pretty good quarterback.
Yep. It's just the pre-snap stuff. I don't know if it's there at all right now for him, especially the pressure. There's no adjustment there. He doesn't look like there's any sense of urgency when it's obvious that they're bringing heat. So that's something that concerns me a bit. Again, is that somewhat to do with the offense not giving him audibles to the line or not working in check downs that make sense from the play packages? I don't know. I don't really like Phil Luongo's offense at all. And we talked about a comment here saying Josh Downs is his only okay weapon in that offense. I'll push back a little bit on that. I was pretty impressed with, he's actually a senior this season, but number 3, Antonio Green. I think he's going to get a chance to, he'll be a day 3 pick, but I think he's going to get a chance in the league as well. I was pretty impressed with his play as well. So looking out for, is this another new one?
No, right. As we're getting out of here, I thought it was worth bringing up again for multiple reasons. Just again, for us to show the support and, if you're gonna drop a big red super like that and have a cause and a calling like the hashtag triple F, show it again on the way out.
Yeah, absolutely. But final thoughts on Sam Howell, NFL arm, thick, very thick guy. Probably needs to work on his downfield accuracy a little bit, but there are some throws that are like 20 yards down the field, but they're opposite hash mark. And the hashes in the college, for you guys at home, hashes in college are wider than they are in the NFL. So the opposite field throw from the hash mark is even more impressive because it really shows that intermediate accuracy and ability to hit some weird, tough windows. He did that a few times. So color me intrigued with Sam Howell. I don't think I would spend a top 20 pick on him. out of the gate, but if the Broncos can go out there and get a Ike Ekwonu in the first round, offensive lineman, and then trade back up into the first round and get Sam Howell, I think I would be on board. I really do.
Well, good. I look forward to seeing him. Now, is he a senior? Will he be at the Senior Bowl?
He graduated early. He's a junior,
Okay.
only 21 years old, but he got enough accreditation where he is eligible and will be at the Senior Bowl. Out of the top 6 quarterbacks, the only one not there is Matt Corral.
Yeah, I took a quick glimpse and I was like, oh, yeah, I felt like 5 of the guys I wanted to see were there. So, okay, good.
Yep. So, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I just spent a lot of time watching Sam Howell last night. There's more to it as well, but wanted to give you the tidbit. I think I'll probably do another quarterback next Monday. Who do we think? Who should I do? Who should we talk about?
I think I like Malik Willis. And then we get a lot of questions about Carson Strong.
Maybe we'll do Carson Strong because I think I'm going to have a hard time finding Liberty football that I'm not going to have to watch entire games for. So then that makes sense. We'll probably save Matt Corral for later because he's the one that's not going to be at the Senior Bowl. We want to get through all these Senior Bowl quarterbacks. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. That would be it's amazing that you want to hang out with us. We're going to do it again on Monday after the Broncos season is concluded, and we'll keep at it for a bit with the offseason talk.
It could be rumors and preview. There's a chance it could be an aftermath show, and there's a chance it could be a preview show. But Monday and Tuesday of next week should be real interesting shows for us.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll have some fun stuff to talk about, but either way, we're going to be here. Well, you guys will make it fun, and we'll do our best to make it fun with you. Follow Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are on Facebook, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, become a supporter, as well as join us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. If you guys haven't done so yet, make sure you're going to iTunes after the fact, whether you're joining us now live or listening to it later on. Make sure you go to Huddle Up Podcast, leave a 5-star review and a comment, and we will get to those and read those on air as they come in. Like I said, I like the ones that say, like, Scott's a genius. I love the football priests. Eric knows what he's talking about. Nick is a piece of human garbage. Like those ones always make me laugh.
Come on now. People don't know you're kidding. Be nice. Be nice out there.
They still make me laugh. Yeah,
give us the close.
Yeah,
give us the close on this.
Make sure you guys are subscribing, liking, and sharing to Mile High Huddle. Also pick youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. You guys have a great day. It's raining here in Seattle, but it's going to be 50 degrees. So I'm happy because it's been so freaking cold here. You guys have a great one.
In Denver.
Yeah, a little. Gosh, we need some rain, more rain in Denver. You guys have a great one. We love you. Choose kindness, choose compassion. Go Broncos.